They seated us near the back. Not the worst table, not the best, the kind of spot where you're visible enough to be seen, but far enough that your conversation won't bother anyone who matters. Jason chose the restaurant. He always did. Mid-tier steakhouse with cloth napkins and a wine list thick enough to look impressive if you didn't actually know wine. My wife Laura sat beside me, her hand resting on my knee under the table. She'd worn the navy dress I liked, the one that made her look like she belonged in boardrooms instead of birthday dinners at chain restaurants. Across from us, Jason and his wife Melissa were already halfway through their first drinks. "Dad," Jason said, raising his glass before the waiter had finished taking orders. He called me that. Dad. Not because he felt it, but because it played well. "Happy birthday," I nodded. 53. Not a milestone anyone actually cared about. "You know," Jason continued, his voice pitching up the way it did when he was about to perform, "I was thinking about what to say tonight, and I realized something." Melissa was smiling. That should have been my first clue. We talk a lot about success, about making it, about building something. He gestured vaguely, the way people do when they're pretending to be profound. But we don't talk enough about the people who support us, the people who taught us what not to do. A few tables nearby had gone quiet. Jason had that effect. He could command a room without raising his voice. "So here's to David," he said, lifting his glass higher. "A man who's taught me the value of stability, of staying in one place, of living rent-free in the choices you made 20 years ago." The laughter started at our table, then it spread. 3 tables, maybe 4. Not roaring laughter, the polite kind, the kind that says we all understand the joke and we're all sophisticated enough to appreciate it. Laura's hand tightened on my knee. I picked up my water glass. Not my wine. I wanted to be very clear about what I was drinking to. "Cheers," I said. Jason grinned. He thought he'd won something. The waiter appeared with appetizers no one had ordered. Jason must have called ahead. Shrimp cocktail, calamari, some kind of bruschetta that cost more than it should. He was paying, which meant he was buying the right to set the tone. "How's the job search going?" Melissa asked. Her voice was honey over glass. She already knew the answer. "Taking my time," I said. "Smart," Jason said, spearing a shrimp. "No point rushing into something you'll just hate again." Laura cut in before I could respond. "David's been consulting, freelance work." "Consulting." Jason repeated the word like he was tasting it. "That's what we're calling it now?" I watched him chew. He'd put on weight since the wedding. Not much, just enough that his collar looked tight. Success weight. The kind you earn by eating at places like this 3 times a week. "You know what I respect about you, David?" He didn't wait for an answer. "You don't pretend. Some guys your age, they'd be out there lying on their resumes, inflating their titles, but you just are what you are." "Jason," Laura said quietly. "What?" I'm complimenting him. He looked around the table like we were all in on the same joke. "I mean it. There's dignity in acceptance." The waiter brought our entrees. I'd ordered the cheapest steak. Jason had ordered for Melissa. The lobster tail, supplemented with extra crab. He was making a point about who had money to waste. We ate in relative silence for a while. Small talk about the weather, about Melissa's sister's new baby, about a movie none of us had seen. The kind of conversation that fills space without meaning anything. I cut my steak into small, even pieces. Laura always said I ate like a surgeon. Precise. Methodical. Nothing wasted. "So what's next?" Jason asked, pushing his plate away. He'd left half the steak. "What's the grand plan?" "I'm working on something," I said. "Yeah?" He leaned back, one arm draped over Melissa's chair. "What kind of something?" "You'll see." That got his attention. His eyes narrowed just slightly. Jason didn't like mysteries unless he was the one creating them. "Cryptic," he said. "I like it. Very mysterious." The waiter cleared our plates and brought the dessert menu. Jason ordered the chocolate lava cake for the table. He was still performing, still generous, still the man who picked up the check. While we waited, he told a story about a deal he'd closed last week. $50 million in financing for a commercial development downtown. He'd structured it, he said. He'd made it happen. The investors had been skeptical until he walked them through the numbers. Laura's hand found mine under the table again. I'd heard this story before. 3 years ago, Jason had told me about a property deal that was too good to pass up. Investors were cold on it, he'd said. The numbers didn't work until someone restructured the financing model. Someone who understood how to layer the debt, how to make the equity returns look better than they were. That someone had been me. But Jason's version of the story didn't include me. In his telling, he'd done it alone. He'd convinced the investors. He'd made the numbers work. I was background noise, a name that didn't matter. The dessert arrived. Laura cut into it first, her fork scraping against the plate with a sound that made my teeth ache. I reached into my jacket pocket. The envelope was exactly where I'd left it, tucked against my phone. I'd printed it that morning on regular paper, folded it twice, and sealed it in a standard white envelope. Nothing fancy. Nothing that looked important. I waited until Jason had taken his first bite, chocolate and ice cream, his favorite. Then I slid the envelope across the table. It made a soft sound against the wood. Jason glanced down at it, then back at me. "What's this?" "Open it," I said. He wiped his mouth with his napkin. Melissa was watching now, her fork suspended halfway to her mouth. Laura had gone very still beside me. Jason picked up the envelope. He turned it over once, checking for a return address that wasn't there. Then he slid his thumb under the flap and tore it open. I watched his face. The smile went first. Not all at once, but in stages. First the edges of his mouth loosened. Then his eyes stopped moving. Then his whole expression flattened into something I couldn't quite read. He pulled out the single sheet of paper inside. It wasn't long, maybe 200 words, but they were the right 200 words. "What is this?" His voice had changed. The performance was gone. "Read it," I said. He did. His eyes moved left to right, then back again. I'd kept it simple. Dates, names, account numbers, the structure of the deal he'd just been bragging about, the deal he'd claimed as his own. And at the bottom, a single line. Funny how memory works. Jason set the paper down very carefully. His hand was shaking. Not much, but enough. "This is..." He stopped. Started again. "Where did you get this?" "I wrote it. This is bullshit." "Is it?" Melissa leaned over to look. Jason pulled the paper away from her, folding it quickly and shoving it back into the envelope. "You think this means something?" he said. "I think it means exactly what it says." The table had gone quiet. Around us, the restaurant continued its normal noise, glasses clinking, conversations rising and falling, but at our table, the air had frozen. "You're upset," Jason said. He was trying to regain control. "I get it. The toast was maybe a little harsh, but..." "The toast was fine," I said. I thought it was funny. "Then what is this?" I stood up. Laura stood with me, smooth and unhurried. She'd known this was coming. Not the details, but the shape of it. She'd known since this morning when I'd printed the paper and sealed the envelope. "Happy birthday to me," I said. I left 2 20s on the table. Not for my meal. Jason was paying for that. For the waiter, people forget to tip. When the night goes sideways. Laura and I walked out together. I didn't look back, but I felt Jason's eyes on me the whole way to the door. In the parking lot, Laura unlocked the car but didn't get in. She stood there, keys in hand, looking at me across the roof. "That was the first one," she said. It wasn't a question. "Yes? How many more?" "As many as it takes." She smiled. Not happy, not sad, just certain. We got in the car and drove home in silence. Before we continue, hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We'd love to get to know our audience better. I woke up at 5:30 like I always did. Laura was still asleep, one arm thrown across the space where I'd been. I got up carefully, avoiding the squeaky board near the closet, and went downstairs. The coffee maker was already programmed. I'd set it the night before, same as every night. Black coffee, no sugar. I drank it standing at the kitchen window, watching the sky change from black to gray to pale blue. My phone buzzed at 6:15. "Jason, we need to talk." I deleted the message and poured another cup. At 7, Laura came down in her robe. She didn't ask about the phone. She knew. "How long are you going to make him wait?" she asked. "A while." She poured her own coffee, added cream and sugar, and sat down at the table. We'd bought this table 15 years ago at an estate sale. Solid oak, someone's grandmother's table. It had outlasted 2 apartments and 1 house. It would outlast whatever came next. "You know he'll try to spin it," Laura said. "He already is." "What did he say?" "Doesn't matter." She studied me over the rim of her cup. Laura had been an attorney before we met. She'd given it up when her firm refused to promote her after she got pregnant. That was before Jason, before me, before any of this. "You're enjoying this," she said. "Some?" "Good." She finished her coffee and went upstairs to shower. I heard the water run, heard her moving around overhead. Normal sounds, morning sounds. My phone buzzed again. Jason. I know what you're doing. I set the phone face down on the table. At 8:30, I drove to the storage unit. It was one of those climate-controlled places off the highway, the kind with orange doors and security cameras that never worked. I'd rented it 6 months ago under an LLC I'd set up in Delaware. Cost me $90 a month and 45 minutes of paperwork. Unit 247 was on the second floor, at the end of a hallway that smelled like cardboard and old carpet. I unlocked it and pulled the door up. Inside were 4 filing boxes, 2 plastic bins, and a folding table. Nothing dramatic, nothing illegal, just paper. I'd started collecting it 3 years ago. After the first time, Jason told a story that erased me from it. After the first time, he claimed credit for work I'd done. At first, I told myself it didn't matter. He was young, ambitious, he wanted to impress people. That's what young guys did. But then it kept happening. The commercial deal, the restructured loan, the investor presentation that saved a failing project, all mine, all his in the retelling. So I started keeping receipts. Not literal receipts, better than that. Emails with timestamps, meeting notes with my handwriting, calendar invites showing who attended which meetings, bank records showing whose account received the consulting fees. I opened the first box and pulled out a folder labeled Riverside Commons 2022. The deal Jason had bragged about last night. Inside were 30 pages of documentation, the original financial model with my name in the metadata, the revised term sheet with my edits tracked, an email chain where Jason asked me to walk him through the debt structuring because he didn't understand how to make the numbers work. I'd made the numbers work. I'd shown him how, and then he'd taken it to the investors alone. I pulled out my phone and took photos of 3 pages. The metadata, the email, the tracked changes. I uploaded them to a cloud folder I'd created last week, separate from my personal storage, separate from anything that could tie back to me directly. Then I locked the unit and drove to the public library. The downtown branch had 20 computer terminals and free Wi-Fi. I logged in using a guest account and opened my email. There were 4 new messages from Jason. I read them without responding. Jason. This is childish. Jason. Call me. Jason. I'm serious. Call me now. Jason. Fine. Play your little game. But you're making a mistake. I opened a new browser window and navigated to the website for Meridian Capital Group, Jason's employer. The company he'd been with for 5 years. The company he told everyone he was a senior partner at. He wasn't a partner. He was a senior associate. Important difference. I clicked through to the company directory and found his profile. Jason Hendricks, senior associate, commercial real estate finance. Below his name was a list of his key transactions. Riverside Commons was number 3. I opened a new document and started typing. Not an email, not a letter, just a list, transaction names, dates, my role in each one, supporting documentation, where to find it. I kept it clinical, no emotion, no accusations, just facts. When I finished, I saved it to a thumb drive and logged out. Outside, the day had turned warm. I sat on a bench near the library steps and watched people walk past. Students with backpacks, mothers with strollers, a man in a suit arguing into his phone. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Laura. Laura. He called the house. Me. What did you tell him? Laura. That you'd call him when you were ready. Me? Good. Laura. Be careful. I put the phone away and drove to Riverside Commons. The development was 15 minutes from downtown. 12 acres of mixed-use space, ground floor retail, office space above, residential units on top. The kind of project that looked good in renderings and sounded smart in investor meetings. It had been Jason's first big deal, the one that made his reputation, the one that got him promoted from associate to senior associate. I parked across the street and watched the construction crews work. They were ahead of schedule, finishing the facade on the south building, pouring concrete for the north. A project this size didn't happen by accident. It took planning, coordination, someone who understood how to structure the financing so the returns made sense and the risk got distributed properly. That someone had been me. Jason had brought me the deal 3 years ago. Over dinner, casual, like he was asking a favor. The numbers didn't work, he'd said. The debt was too expensive. The equity investors wanted better returns. Could I take a look? I took a look. It took me 6 weeks to restructure the whole thing. New loan terms. Different debt layers. A revised equity split that made everyone happy. I'd done it for free because Jason was family, because Laura had asked me to help him, because it seemed like the right thing to do. He'd thanked me, taken me out for drinks, said he owed me one. Then he'd presented the deal to Meridian Capital as his own work. I watched the construction crews for another 10 minutes, then drove home. Laura was in the garden when I got back. She was pulling weeds from around the tomato plants, her hands covered in dirt. "How was the library?" she asked without looking up. "Productive." Jason called again. "I know." She sat back on her heels and looked at me. "You're really going through with this?" "Yes. All the way?" "All the way." She nodded and went back to the weeds. "Good." That night, I cooked dinner. Salmon with roasted vegetables. Simple, clean. We ate at the oak table and didn't talk about Jason. After dinner, Laura opened her laptop and started researching something. I didn't ask what. I knew she'd tell me when she was ready. At 9, my phone buzzed again. "Jason. Last chance. Call me or I go to Laura." I showed the message to Laura. She read it and laughed. "He thinks I don't know," she said. "He thinks a lot of things. He's going to call here again. Let him." She closed her laptop and stood up. "I'm going to bed. Don't stay up too late." I stayed up until midnight, making lists. The call came on a Tuesday. Tom Reichert. Professional. Clipped. "We've completed our review. I wanted you to know that Jason Hendricks is no longer with Meridian Capital, effective immediately." I was standing in the kitchen. Laura was at the table, watching me. "I appreciate you letting me know," I said. "We take these matters very seriously. Your cooperation was invaluable." He hung up before I could respond. Laura raised her eyebrows. "Done?" "Done." She nodded and went back to her laptop. No celebration, no relief, just acknowledgement that one part of this had finished. I poured myself coffee and sat down across from her. "What are you working on?" I asked. "Melissa's LinkedIn. She updated it this morning. Changed her bio to supporting my husband through a career transition. Fast. She's a survivor. She knows how to spin." Laura turned the laptop around. Melissa's profile picture was the same. Professional headshot. Warm smile. The bio was new, though. Optimistic. Forward-looking. All the right corporate buzzwords. "She's going to try to make him look like the victim," Laura said. "Let her try." "You don't care. He's not the victim. Everyone who matters knows that now." Laura closed the laptop. "What about the people who don't matter?" "They'll believe whatever makes them comfortable. Always do." That afternoon, I drove to the storage unit. I hadn't been there in over a week. The hallway still smelled like old carpet. The door to Unit 247 still stuck when I tried to roll it up. Inside, everything was exactly as I'd left it. Filing boxes, plastic bins, folding table. I pulled out my phone and took photos of everything. Every page, every folder, every piece of documentation I'd collected over 3 years. Then I uploaded all of it to 3 separate cloud accounts, different providers, different passwords, backups of backups. When I finished, I locked the unit and drove to a FedEx store 20 minutes away. I printed one complete set of everything. 300 pages. I divided it into 3 packages. The first one went to Alan Voss at Meridian Capital. The second one went to my attorney, a guy I'd never met, but who came highly recommended by Laura's old colleague. Retainer paid in cash, no electronic trail. The third one I kept. That night, Jason showed up at our house. I saw him through the window. He was parked across the street in his leased BMW, just sitting there, watching the house. Laura came up beside me. "How long has he been there?" 10 minutes? You want me to call the police?" "Not yet." We watched him together. He didn't move, didn't get out of the car, just sat there in the dark. After 20 minutes, he drove away. "That's new," Laura said. "He's trying to intimidate us." "Is it working?" I thought about it, about the fear I should probably feel, about the normal response to having someone park outside your house in the dark. "No," I said. Laura went to the kitchen and came back with her phone. She pulled up an app I didn't recognize. "I'm setting up the security cameras tomorrow. Front door, back door, driveway." "You think he'll come back?" "I think he's going to get worse before he gets better." She was right. Over the next week, Jason called 14 times. I didn't answer. He sent 23 text messages. I didn't read them. He showed up at the house twice more, and both times after dark, both times just sitting in his car. Laura documented everything, photos, timestamps, license plate. "Building a file?" I asked, just in case. On Friday, Melissa called. Laura answered. I listened from the next room. "I understand you're upset," Laura said. Her voice was calm, measured. "But David didn't do anything wrong. He told the truth about work he actually did." I couldn't hear Melissa's response. "No, I don't think this is about ego," Laura continued. I think this is about Jason taking credit for other people's work and finally getting caught. More noise from Melissa's end. I'm sorry you feel that way, Laura said. But we're not going to have this conversation. If Jason has something to say, he can say it through a lawyer. She hung up. That went well, I said. She's angrier than he is. She knows what this means for them. What does it mean? Laura pulled up her laptop. She'd been tracking something, numbers, dates, payments. It means they have 4 months before that loan resets. It means Jason's severance from Meridian won't cover more than 2 months of their current expenses. And it means they're about to find out what living paycheck to paycheck actually feels like. You sound almost sympathetic. I'm not, but I understand the math. That weekend, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. David, this is Carol Hendricks. Jason's mother, Melissa's mother-in-law, a woman I'd met exactly 3 times. Carol, what can I do for you? I wanted to talk to you about Jason, about what happened at Meridian. What about it? He says you lied to his employers, that you made up stories about doing work you didn't actually do. I let the silence hang there. David? I didn't make up anything. I documented everything. Meridian verified it themselves. But why would you do this? He's family. He stopped treating me like family a long time ago. That toast was just a joke. I know. That's not why I did this. Then why? Because he took credit for 3 years of my work, and because I was tired of letting it happen. Another pause. I could hear her breathing, thinking. I see, she said finally. Is there anything else? No, I just wanted to understand. She hung up. Laura came into the room. Jason's mother? Yeah. What did she want? To hear my side, I think. And? I told her. Laura sat down beside me. This is the part where people start choosing sides. I know. You ready for that? I thought about it. About the people who would believe Jason's version. About the ones who would believe mine. About the ones who wouldn't care either way. Yeah, I said. I'm ready. That night, I slept better than I had in months. The restraining order came on a Wednesday. A process server showed up at 10 a.m., young guy, apologetic. He handed me the papers and left before I could ask questions. Laura read through it while I made coffee. He's claiming harassment, she said. Based on what? The meeting with Meridian, the documentation you provided. He's calling it a coordinated campaign to destroy his reputation and career. Is that going to work? She flipped to the second page. No, this is desperation, but you'll need to respond formally. What does it say I can't do? Contact him. Come within 500 feet of his residence or workplace. Oh, and this is interesting. You can't discuss him with any current or former Meridian Capital employees. I'm already not doing any of those things. I know, that's why this won't stick. He's trying to make you look dangerous, make himself look like the victim. She set the papers down. I'll call Robert. He'll file a response. Robert was the attorney, the one I'd sent the documentation to. Laura had met with him twice already. I hadn't met him at all. How much is this going to cost? I asked. Less than you think. Robert says cases like this usually get dismissed within 30 days. Jason's attorney probably told him the same thing. So why file it? Because it feels like doing something. Because sitting at home unemployed and angry wasn't working. She had a point. That afternoon, I went to the library. Same branch as before. Different computer terminal. I opened a browser and searched for Jason's name. The first result was his LinkedIn. Status: open to new opportunities. The second result was a professional profile on Meridian Capital's website. Archived. Still visible if you knew where to look. The third result was new. A post on a commercial real estate forum. Someone asking if anyone had worked with Jason Hendricks. 3 responses. 2 positive. One that just said, do your due diligence. I closed the browser and logged out. On the drive home, I thought about what came next. Jason was out of work. His reputation was damaged. The restraining order wouldn't hold. In a month, maybe 2, he'd find another job. Smaller firm, lower salary. But he'd land somewhere. That wasn't enough. Laura was in the garden when I got back. She'd planted new tomatoes. They were already sprouting. How long until they're ready? I asked. 8 weeks, maybe 10. I sat down on the steps and watched her work. She had dirt under her fingernails. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. She looked younger than she had in years. You're thinking about something, she said. How do you know? Because you're quiet, and you only get quiet when you're planning. I'm thinking about timing. For what? For the next part. She sat back on her heels and looked at me. There's a next part? There's always a next part. Tell me. I told her about the loan, about the reset, about the 4 months they had before everything changed. You want to accelerate it, she said. I want them to understand what it feels like. Really understand. How? I don't know yet. She went back to her tomatoes. You'll figure it out. You always do. That night, I got an email from Robert. Subject line, Hendricks restraining order. I opened it. Motion to dismiss filed. Hearing scheduled for April 12th. Likelihood of success, 95%. Recommend no contact until resolved. Short. Professional. Exactly what I needed. I forwarded it to Laura and deleted the original. At 11 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. David, it's Tom Reichert. I sat up. Laura looked over from her side of the bed. Tom, little late for a business call. I know, I'm sorry, but I wanted to give you a heads up. Jason filed a lawsuit this afternoon, against you and against Meridian. On what grounds? Defamation, tortious interference, breach of contract. It's a mess. Is it going anywhere? No, our legal team says it's frivolous, but you'll need to respond formally, and it's going to be public. How public? Court filings are public record. There'll probably be some coverage in the industry press, maybe local news if it's a slow week. I processed that. Okay. Okay, that's it? What else is there to say? Tom laughed. It sounded tired. Most people in your position would be panicking right now. I'm not most people. No, you're not. He hung up. Laura was sitting up now. Lawsuit? Yeah. Worried? No. Good. She turned off the light and we lay there in the dark. This is going to get worse, she said. I know. You still want to keep going? Yeah. Then so do I. The next morning I called Robert. I heard, he said before I could speak. What do I need to do? Nothing. I'll handle the response. This is a SLAP suit, strategic lawsuit against public participation, designed to intimidate you into silence. Will it work? Does it sound like it's working? No. Then we're good. I'll file an anti-SLAP motion. With any luck, we'll get it dismissed and Jason will owe you attorney's fees. How much are we talking? If we win? Could be 30,000, could be more. I smiled. That would be nice. Wouldn't it, though? He hung up. Laura was making breakfast. Eggs and toast. Simple. Robert thinks we'll win, I said. Of course we will. Jason's desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. What kind of mistakes? She slid eggs onto my plate. The kind that make everything worse. She was right. Over the next 2 weeks, Jason made 4 mistakes. The first was sending me an email directly. Threatening, angry, full of typos. I forwarded it to Robert, who forwarded it to the judge handling the restraining order. The second was posting about me on social media. Vague, bitter, just enough detail that people could figure out who he was talking about. I screenshotted everything and sent it to Robert. The third was showing up at my gym, not the one across town, my regular gym, the one he didn't know I'd started going back to. I saw him in the parking lot. He saw me see him. We stared at each other for 10 seconds. Then I went inside and called the police. They came. They talked to him. They told him to leave. He left. Laura added it to the file. The fourth mistake was the worst one. He called her office. Laura had started working again. Part-time consulting for a firm downtown. Small projects, contract work, nothing dramatic. Jason called and asked for her by name, said he needed to discuss a family matter. The receptionist put him through. Laura listened to him rant for 30 seconds, then hung up and called building security. They flagged his name. He couldn't get past the lobby now. That night, Laura showed me the recording. Her office phone system kept logs of everything. You want me to send this to Robert? She asked. Yeah, she did. Robert called an hour later. This just keeps getting better. Better how? Better as in Jason's digging his own grave. The judge is going to love this. When's the hearing? Next week, April 12th. You don't need to be there. I'll handle it. I want to be there. You sure? Yeah. Okay. Courthouse, 9 a.m. Bring ID. He hung up. Laura looked at me. You don't have to go. I know. But you want to. I want to see his face when the judge dismisses it. She smiled. That's fair. The courthouse was downtown. Gray stone, too many steps, the kind of building designed to make you feel small before you even walked inside. Robert met me in the lobby at 8:45. He was taller than I expected. Good suit, confident handshake. You ready? He asked. Yeah. Good. Don't say anything unless the judge asks you a direct question. Let me handle everything else. We went through security and took the elevator to the 3rd floor. The hallway was crowded. People waiting for their cases, lawyers talking in clusters. Jason was already there. He was standing near the courtroom doors with his attorney. A woman in her 50s, sharp eyes, expensive briefcase. He saw me and his whole body tensed. I didn't look away. His attorney noticed and said something to him. He nodded but didn't stop staring. Robert guided me to a bench on the opposite side of the hall. Don't engage. I'm not. Good. At 9 a.m., they opened the courtroom doors. We filed in. Jason and his attorney sat on the left. Robert and I sat on the right. The judge came in at 9:15, a woman in her 60s, gray hair pulled back, reading glasses on a chain. Case number 47CV2891, Hendricks versus Morrison, petition for restraining order. Jason's attorney stood. Your Honor, my client is here today seeking protection from a pattern of harassment and intimidation by the respondent, David Morrison. She went through the whole thing. The meeting with Meridian, the documentation I'd provided, the alleged campaign to destroy Jason's career and reputation. The judge listened without expression. When she finished, Robert stood. Your Honor, this petition is without merit. Mr. Morrison has not contacted Mr. Hendricks. He has not threatened him. He has not harassed him. What Mr. Morrison did was provide truthful information to Mr. Hendricks's former employer when asked. That is not harassment. That is cooperation with a legitimate business inquiry. He handed the judge a folder. Included here are copies of all communications between Mr. Morrison and Meridian Capital. As you'll see, everything was initiated by Meridian. Mr. Morrison simply responded to their questions. The judge opened the folder and started reading. The courtroom was silent. After 5 minutes, she looked up. Counselor, she said to Jason's attorney, I'm not seeing any evidence of harassment here. Your Honor, the pattern of behavior? What pattern? Mr. Morrison answered questions posed to him by a third party. That's not harassment. Jason's attorney tried again. Your Honor, my client has also been subjected to ongoing stalking behaviors. Such as? Mr. Morrison has appeared at locations my client frequents. Public locations? Yes, but... So Mr. Morrison went to places that are open to the public, places where anyone might go. Your Honor, the intent is not demonstrated by the evidence. What I see here is a man who told the truth when asked, and another man who doesn't like the consequences of that truth. She closed the folder. Petition denied. Mr. Hendricks, you are free to pursue civil remedies if you believe you have been defamed or otherwise wronged. But this court will not issue a restraining order based on the evidence presented today. She looked at Robert. Does the respondent wish to pursue attorney's fees? Yes, Your Honor. File a motion. I'll review it. We're adjourned. She stood and left. Jason's attorney gathered her papers without looking at us. Jason sat frozen in his chair. Robert tapped my shoulder. Let's go. We walked out together. In the hallway, Jason was standing with his attorney. She was talking to him in a low voice. He wasn't listening. He was watching me. I walked past him without stopping. Outside, the sun was too bright. I stood on the courthouse steps and let my eyes adjust. Robert came up beside me. That went well. How much for the attorney's fees? I'll bill you for my time. Probably $8,000. We'll ask the court to make him pay $15,000. Split the difference. Fair. You want to grab coffee? Celebrate? No, I need to get home. Suit yourself. He shook my hand and left. I stood there for a few more minutes, watching people come and go, lawyers, clients, people with problems they couldn't solve on their own. My phone buzzed. Laura. How'd it go? Me? Dismissed. Laura. Good. Come home. I have something to show you. I drove home. Laura was at the kitchen table with her laptop open. She looked pleased with herself. What is it? I asked. Melissa's parents filed for bankruptcy. I sat down. When? Last week. Full liquidation. What does that mean for the house? It means the bank is taking it, which means Jason and Melissa can't use it as collateral anymore, which means their loan resets in 3 months with no way to refinance. I let that sink in. How did you find this? Public records. Bankruptcy filings are searchable if you know where to look. And I've been looking. She turned the laptop around. There was a spreadsheet. Dozens of rows, dates, amounts, sources. What is this? A timeline. Every major financial move Jason and Melissa have made in the last 5 years. The condo purchase, the car leases, the loan against her parents' house, the credit cards. How did you get all this? Some of it's public. Some of it's from Melissa. She talks too much when she's had wine. And the rest? Laura smiled. I have friends who know people who have access to things. That's vague. It's supposed to be. I looked at the spreadsheet. The numbers told a story. A couple living beyond their means, leveraging everything they could, betting on Jason's career to keep growing. They're going to lose everything, I said. They're going to lose everything they borrowed to pretend they had. That's cold. It's accurate. She closed the laptop. You want to know the best part? What? They did this to themselves. We didn't make them take out that loan. We didn't make them buy a condo they couldn't afford. We didn't make them lease cars at rates that don't make sense. They made those choices. We just made sure the consequences caught up to them. Exactly. I thought about that. About the line between revenge and justice. About whether there was a difference. What happens when the loan resets? I asked. They default. The bank forecloses. They lose the condo. And then? And then they start over. Smaller apartment, older cars, a life that matches their actual income instead of the one they were pretending to have. You sound almost sympathetic. I'm not, but I understand math. That night, we ordered takeout and ate at the oak table. Laura opened a bottle of wine. We didn't talk about Jason or Melissa or any of it. We talked about the tomatoes in the garden, about a trip we wanted to take, about normal things that had nothing to do with revenge. At some point, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Laura raised an eyebrow. You going to check that? Later. It might be important. If it's important, they'll call back. They did. 3 more times. I ignored all of them. At midnight, I finally listened to the voicemail. It was Jason's mother. David, this is Carol. Please call me back. It's important. It's about Jason. I deleted it and went to bed. The invitation came on a Friday. Physical mail, heavy cardstock, embossed lettering. You are cordially invited to the Meridian Capital Annual Partners Dinner. Laura read it over my shoulder. Why would they invite you? I don't know. I flipped it over. Handwritten note on the back. David, would appreciate your attendance. We're recognizing some people who've contributed to the firm's success. Tom Reichert. He wants to recognize you, Laura said, or he wants to make a point. What kind of point? That integrity matters, that the truth matters, that people who do the work should get the credit. Laura took the invitation from me and studied it. When is it? 3 weeks, May 15th. Are you going to go? I thought about it, about walking into a room full of people from Jason's world, about being recognized for work I'd done 3 years ago, about the optics of it. Yeah, I said, I'm going. Good. I'll buy a new dress. The next 3 weeks passed quickly. Jason's lawsuit got dismissed. The judge called it frivolous and ordered him to pay my attorney's fees. Robert sent me the bill, $12,000. Jason had 30 days to pay. The restraining order was formally vacated. I got a letter from the court confirming it. Jason found a new job, smaller firm, commercial real estate, lower title. I saw the LinkedIn update. Excited to join the team at Parkway Realty Group. Melissa's parents' house went into foreclosure. The notice was public record. Laura showed me the filing and the loan reset. Laura tracked it all. The default notice, the bank's demand letter, the eviction proceedings that would start in 60 days if they couldn't make the new payment. They can't make it, Laura said. I checked the numbers. Even with Jason's new job, they're short by at least $3,000 a month. What are they going to do? File for bankruptcy, move, start over. You're sure? I'm sure. The night before the dinner, I couldn't sleep. I got up at 2 and went downstairs, made coffee and sat at the kitchen table in the dark. Laura found me there at 3. Nervous? She asked. Maybe. About tomorrow? About all of it. She sat down across from me. You did the right thing. Did I? Yes. Jason took credit for your work. You corrected the record. That's not revenge. That's justice. It doesn't feel like justice. What does it feel like? I thought about it. About Jason losing his job, about the lawsuit, about the foreclosure and the bankruptcy and all the things that had happened because I'd told the truth. It feels like I broke something, I said. You didn't break it. It was already broken. You just stopped pretending it wasn't. She was right, but it didn't make it easier. Come back to bed, she said. You need to sleep. I didn't sleep, but I went back to bed anyway. The next evening, Laura and I got dressed for the dinner. She wore a black dress, simple, elegant. the kind of thing that made everyone else in the room look like they were trying too hard. I wore a suit I'd bought 10 years ago. Still fit, still looked good. We drove downtown in silence. The dinner was at a hotel, big ballroom, 200 people, open bar. Tom Reichert met us at the door. "David, Laura, thank you for coming." We shook hands. His grip was firm. "You clean up well," he said. "So do you." He laughed. "Come on, I'll introduce you to some people." He led us through the crowd. Partners, associates, clients, people with money and power and opinions about both. We made small talk, smiled, nodded, did the things you do at events like this. At 7, they called everyone to their tables. Laura and I were seated near the front. Tom was at our table. So was Alan Voss. And 3 other people I didn't know. Dinner was fine, steak, vegetables, wine that was better than it needed to be. At 8:30, Tom stood up and walked to the podium. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here." The room quieted. Tonight, we're here to celebrate another successful year at Meridian Capital. We've closed over $2 billion in transactions. We've expanded into 3 new markets, and we've continued to build our reputation as a firm that values integrity and excellence. Applause. But success isn't just about numbers. It's about people. It's about the people who do the work, the people who make the deals happen, the people who sometimes don't get the recognition they deserve. He paused. 3 months ago, we learned that one of our transactions had been built on work that wasn't properly attributed. Someone had taken credit for structuring a deal they didn't structure, for solving problems they didn't solve, for work they didn't do. The room was very quiet now. That person is no longer with our firm, but the person who actually did the work is here tonight. He looked directly at me. "David Morrison, would you stand up?" Laura squeezed my hand under the table. I stood. David worked on several of our most successful transactions: Riverside Commons, Fairview Plaza, Bridgewater Crossing. In each case, he provided the financial structuring and analysis that made those deals possible. And in each case, someone else took the credit. Tom paused again. "Tonight, we want to set the record straight. David, on behalf of Meridian Capital, thank you for your work, for your integrity, and for your willingness to tell the truth when it mattered." Applause. Real applause, not the polite kind. I nodded and sat down. Tom continued talking, but I wasn't listening anymore. Laura leaned over. "You okay?" "Yeah." "You're shaking." "I know." She took my hand again. After the speeches, people came up to our table, partners, associates, people who wanted to shake my hand and tell me they respected what I'd done. I smiled, thanked them, said all the right things. At 10, Laura and I left. In the car, she turned to me. "How do you feel?" "Tired." "That's it?" "That's it." She started the engine and we drove home. When we got there, I checked my phone. 3 missed calls, all from unknown numbers. I listened to the voicemails. The first was Carol, Jason's mother. "David, please, we need to talk. Jason he's not doing well. Please call me." The second was Melissa. "You got what you wanted. Are you happy now? He's destroyed. We're losing everything. I hope it was worth it." The third was Jason. His voice was quiet, flat. "I know you're not going to answer. I know you don't care, but I need you to understand something. I didn't mean to take credit for your work. I got caught up in it, in the moment, in trying to prove myself, and then it was too late to fix it. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. For everything." I played it twice, then I deleted it. Laura was in the kitchen. "What was that?" "Jason, apologizing." And nothing. It doesn't change anything." She nodded. "No, it doesn't." I sat down at the oak table. "You know what the worst part is?" "What?" "I don't feel good about this. I don't feel satisfied. I just feel empty." Laura sat down across from me. "That's normal. Revenge is like that. It feels necessary until it's done, and then it just feels hollow." "So, what do we do now?" "We move on. We let him rebuild his life. We rebuild ours." "Just like that?" "Just like that?" She was right, but it didn't feel like enough. That night, I dreamed about the birthday dinner, the toast, the laughter, the envelope, but this time, when Jason opened it, it was empty, and everyone was still laughing. The foreclosure notice arrived 4 weeks later. Laura brought in the mail and set it on the kitchen table without comment. I recognized the return address, the bank that held Jason and Melissa's loan. I didn't open it. It wasn't addressed to me. "Wrong address," I said. Laura picked it up and looked at the label. No, it's addressed to us. I took it from her. She was right. Inside was a letter. Formal. Legal. Mr. Morrison, as a party with potential interest in the property located at 1847 Riverside Drive, Unit 402, we are notifying you that foreclosure proceedings have been initiated. If you believe this notice has been sent in error, please contact our office. I set it down. Why would they send this to us? Laura picked it up and read it again. I don't know. Unless what? Unless someone listed you as having an interest in the property. Why would Jason do that? Not Jason. Melissa. She pulled out her phone and started typing. I'm calling Robert. Robert called back 20 minutes later. Laura put him on speaker. I looked into it. Your name is listed on the loan documents as a potential creditor. I'm not a creditor, I said. I know, but someone claimed you loaned Jason and Melissa money secured against the property, probably trying to complicate the foreclosure. Can they do that? They can try. Won't work. Bank will verify you have no actual claim and move forward anyway, but it buys them time. How much time? 30 days, maybe 60 if they drag it out. Laura thanked him and hung up. They're desperate, she said. They're stalling. Same thing. I picked up the notice again, stared at my name typed on official letterhead, tied to something I had nothing to do with. I should be angrier about this, I said. But you're not? No, I'm just tired. Laura took the notice from me and filed it in a folder she'd created. She had folders for everything now, the lawsuit, the restraining order, the bankruptcy, the foreclosure, a complete record of everything that had happened since the birthday dinner. What are you going to do with all that? I asked. Keep it, in case we need it. We won't need it. Probably not, but I'm keeping it anyway. That night, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello? David, it's Carol. Jason's mother, again. Carol, I need to talk to you, in person. I don't think that's a good idea. Please, just coffee, one conversation. I should have said no, but there was something in her voice. Not anger, not manipulation, just exhaustion. When? Tomorrow, 10 a.m., the Starbucks on Market Street. I'll be there. I hung up. Laura looked at me from across the room. That was a mistake. Maybe. You don't owe her anything. I know. So why are you going? Because I want to hear what she has to say. The next morning, I drove to the Starbucks on Market Street. Carol was already there. She looked older than I remembered, tired. I ordered coffee and sat down across from her. Thank you for coming, she said. What do you want, Carol? I want to understand. Why you did this. Why you had to destroy him. I didn't destroy him. He did that himself. By making a mistake? By taking credit for work he thought was collaborative? It wasn't collaborative. It was mine, and he knew it. She looked down at her coffee. He's lost everything, David. His job, his reputation, his home. He still has Melissa. For now. I didn't know what to say to that. He's talking about leaving, she said. Moving to another city. Starting over somewhere no one knows him. That's probably smart. Is that what you want? For him to run away? I don't want anything from him anymore. I just want him to stop lying about what happened. He's apologized. I know. And that's not enough? No. She stood up. I don't understand you. I don't understand how you can be so cold. I'm not cold. I'm just done. She left without finishing her coffee. I sat there for a while, staring at nothing. My phone buzzed. Laura. How'd it go? Me. About how you'd expect. Laura. Come home. I drove home. Laura was in the garden. The tomatoes were almost ready. Another week, maybe 2. Carol tried to make me feel guilty, I said. Did it work? No. Good. She stood up and brushed dirt off her hands. You want to know what I think? What? I think you're waiting for it to feel finished, for there to be some moment where it all feels worth it. And that moment isn't coming, because revenge doesn't work like that. It doesn't close anything, it just opens new things. So what do? You decide it's finished, whether it feels like it or not. She was right. But I wasn't ready yet. Over the next 2 weeks, 3 things happened. First, Jason and Melissa's condo went into foreclosure. The notice was public. Laura found it online and showed me. Auction date set for June 30th. Second, Jason took a job in Phoenix. Melissa posted about it on social media. New adventures ahead. Grateful for fresh starts. Third, Robert sent me a check. $12,000. Jason's payment for the attorney's fees. I deposited it and didn't think about it again. On June 15th, I got an email from Tom Reichert. David, hope you're well. Wanted to let you know we're formally crediting you on the Riverside Commons project. Your name will appear in all marketing materials going forward. Also, we'd like to discuss bringing you on as a consultant for future deals. Interested? Tom? I read it twice. Then I called Laura into the room. Read this, I said. She read it. Are you going to say yes? I don't know. What's stopping you? It feels like going backward, like stepping back into something I left behind. Or it's stepping into something you earned. I thought about that. Can I sit with it for a few days? I asked. Of course. I sat with it for a week. Then I replied, Tom, thanks for the offer. I'm interested. Let's talk details. David. We had lunch the following Tuesday. He laid out what they were thinking, consulting fees, equity participation on certain deals, my name on projects I actually worked on. It was fair, more than fair. I said yes. Laura opened wine that night. You're going back, she said. Not back, forward. Is there a difference? Yeah. This time people know who did the work. She raised her glass. To people knowing who did the work, I raised mine. To people knowing who did the work. We drank. Outside, the sun was setting. The tomatoes were almost ready. Everything was almost ready. The letter arrived on June 28th, 2 days before the foreclosure auction. Plain envelope. No return address. Handwritten. I opened it standing in the kitchen. David, I'm writing this because I don't think I'll get another chance to say it. Melissa and I are leaving for Phoenix tomorrow, starting over. I wanted you to know that I understand what I did. I understand why you did what you did, and I'm sorry. Not sorry that I got caught. Sorry that I made you feel invisible. Sorry that I turned your work into my success story. Sorry that I was too arrogant to see what I was doing until it was too late. You were right. About all of it. I hope you find whatever you were looking for in all this. Jason, I read it twice. Then I set it on the table and walked away. Laura found me in the garden 20 minutes later. You okay? She asked. He wrote me a letter. What did it say? That he's sorry. That he understands. That we're even. Are you even? I thought about it. About the birthday dinner and the envelope and everything that had happened since. No, I said. But I'm done. Those are different things. I know. She sat down beside me on the grass. We didn't talk. Just sat there while the sun went down and the air turned cool. At some point, my phone buzzed. Tom Reichert. First consulting project. Riverside Plaza expansion. Interested? I typed back. Yes. Laura looked over. New project? Yeah. Good. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I got up at midnight and went downstairs, pulled out the folder Laura had been keeping. All the documentation, all the records, all the proof of everything that had happened. I carried it out to the backyard. Laura appeared in the doorway. What are you doing? Getting rid of it. All of it? All of it. She came outside and stood beside me. You're sure? Yeah. I dropped the folder in our fire pit. Laura handed me matches. I lit one and dropped it in. We watched the papers burn. The emails, the financial records, the court documents, the timeline Laura had built. All of it turning to ash. When it was done, Laura went inside. I stayed out there for a while longer, watching the embers fade. My phone buzzed one last time. Unknown number, I answered. Hello? Silence. Then breathing. David? Melissa. What do you want, Melissa? I want you to know that we're leaving. Tomorrow, and that you won. Whatever game you were playing, you won. It wasn't a game. Then what was it? Justice. She laughed. It sounded broken. Justice. Right. Well, congratulations. You destroyed us. I hope it was worth it. I didn't destroy you. You destroyed yourselves. By doing what? By making a mistake? By building a life you couldn't afford on credit you didn't deserve. She hung up. I stood there holding my phone, staring at the burned remains of the folder. Laura came back outside. Who was that? Melissa. What did she want? To tell me I won. Did you? I thought about it. About Jason losing his job and his home and his reputation. About Melissa's anger and Carol's exhaustion and the foreclosure auction that would happen in 2 days. I don't know, I said. Laura put her arm around me. Come inside. It's cold. We went inside. The next morning, June 29th, I woke up early, made coffee, sat at the oak table and watched the sun come up. At 9 a.m., Tom called. Can you come in today? Want to go over the Riverside Plaza details. I'll be there at 10. I got dressed. Laura was already up, working on her laptop. Going in to see Tom? She asked. Yeah. Good luck. I drove downtown. The meeting lasted 3 hours. By the end, I had a consulting contract and equity in a deal that could be worth 6 figures if it closed. On the drive home, I thought about Jason, about where he was right now, probably packing, probably loading everything he had left into a truck bound for Phoenix, starting over. I should have felt something. Satisfaction, vindication, something. But I just felt tired. When I got home, Laura was in the garden picking tomatoes. How'd it go? She asked. Good. Contract signed. First payment in 30 days. That's great. I sat down on the steps and watched her work. I saw Jason this morning, she said. I looked up. What? He was parked across the street, just sitting in his car, like before. Did he say anything? No, he just sat there for a few minutes. Then he drove away. Which direction? West, toward the highway, toward Phoenix. Did he see you? I asked. Yeah. We looked at each other. He nodded. I nodded back. That's it? That's it. She finished picking the tomatoes and came over to sit beside me. It's over now, she said. Really over. Yeah? How does it feel? I thought about it, about the birthday dinner and the toast and the envelope and everything that had come after. Like it needed to happen, I said. But I wish it hadn't. She nodded. Me too. We sat there in silence. At some point, my phone buzzed. Alan Voss. Heard you're consulting with us now. Welcome back. Let's grab lunch next week. I typed back. Sounds good? Laura looked over. Alan? Yeah. He's happy you're back. I'm not back. I'm just here. That's the same thing. Maybe it was. That night, Laura and I made dinner with the tomatoes from the garden. Simple pasta, fresh basil, good wine. We ate at the oak table and didn't talk about Jason or Melissa or any of it. We talked about the Riverside Plaza project, about Laura's consulting work, about a vacation we wanted to take in the fall, normal things, future things. At some point, Laura raised her glass. To moving forward, she said. I raised mine. To moving forward, we drank. The next morning, June 30th, I woke up early again. The foreclosure auction was today. Jason and Melissa's condo would be sold to the highest bidder. I didn't go, didn't watch, didn't check the results online. I just let it happen. Instead, I drove to the office, met with Tom, reviewed the Riverside Plaza financials, started building the debt structure that would make the project viable. By 4 p.m., I had a working model. By 6 p.m., Tom had approved it. By 7 p.m., my name was on it. That was the difference. I drove home. Laura was waiting. How was it? She asked. Good, really good. Your name on it? My name on it? She smiled. Good. We ordered takeout and ate at the oak table. At 9 p.m., my phone buzzed one last time. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but I did. Hello? Silence. Then a voice I recognized. Jason. I'm at the airport, boarding in 20 minutes. Okay. I wanted to say one more thing. What's that? The envelope. At the birthday dinner. What was actually in it? I smiled. A list. Every deal you took credit for. Every piece of work you didn't do. Every lie you told about who did what. That's it? That's it. Not a threat? Not a demand? No, just the truth. He was quiet for a long time. I thought it would be worse, he said finally. The truth is worse. Yeah, I guess it is. Good luck in Phoenix, Jason. David? Yeah? I really am sorry. I know. I hung up. Laura looked at me from across the table. Was that closure? I don't know. Maybe. How do you feel? I thought about it. About the birthday dinner and the envelope and the 3 years of work Jason had claimed as his own. About the lawsuit and the foreclosure and the restraining order that didn't stick. About the letter and the phone call and the nod across the street this morning. I feel like I can breathe again, I said. Laura reached across the table and took my hand. Good, she said. Then it was worth it. We sat there in silence. Outside, the sun had set. The house was quiet. The oak table was solid beneath my hands. Everything was exactly where it needed to be. I stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the street where Jason had parked his car that morning. It was empty now. He was gone, and I was still here. Laura came up beside me. What are you thinking? She asked. That I'm done chasing ghosts. Good. That I'm ready for whatever comes next. Also good. She squeezed my hand. I turned away from the window and looked at her. at the woman who'd stood beside me through all of this, who'd built the timeline and tracked the numbers and never once asked me if it was worth it. "Thank you," I said. "For what?" "For not trying to stop me." "I would never stop you. You needed to do this." "Did I?" "Yes, and now it's done." She was right. It was done. I walked back to the oak table, sat down, picked up my wine glass. Laura sat across from me. We raised our glasses. "To finishing what you start," Laura said. "To finishing what you start," I repeated. We drank. And in that moment, sitting at the table we'd owned for 15 years, in the house we'd built together, with the woman who knew me better than anyone, I finally felt it. The thing I'd been chasing since the birthday dinner. Not satisfaction, not vindication. Peace. Jason was gone. The lawsuits were dismissed. The consulting contract was signed. My name was on my work. Everything I'd set out to do was done, and I was free. I set down my glass and looked at Laura. She was smiling. "What?" I asked. "You just realized it, didn't you?" "Realized what?" "That it's over. Really over." "Yeah. How does it feel?" I thought about it one last time. About the toast and the laughter and the envelope. About 3 years of stolen credit and quiet resentment. About the moment I decided to stop being invisible. About everything that had happened since. "It feels like winning," I said. Laura raised her glass one more time. "Then we did."